Is the recording message come up?
Yep.
Okay.
It has, yeah.
Okay, perfect. And I'll stop the recording when we come to the questions and answers section at the end, so that people don't have to worry about that. Okay, good evening. Welcome to the TY information. I suppose this is a follow-on from last week where we had the information night for QQI in fifth year and our subject options in fifth year. And I suppose third year students are making their minds up really as to whether they're going to continue on to the traditional Leaving Cert, take part in the QQI program we run in the school, or the third element, I suppose, of the senior cycle options, which would be transition year. So I'll talk maybe through, give you some information around transition year in the Coláiste, and it's probably a mix of what we were doing this year in a COVID year and what we would have done previously. And maybe at the end, Miss Mulcahy might speak, or Mr. Delahunty or Miss Tarrant, or I think Miss Wade or Miss Landers might want to add something as well, and we'll give you time for questions and answers. So please God, I'll try and get through this as quickly as I can. I suppose the first thing, I suppose, transition year, funnily enough, it's hard to believe, but in 1985, I was part of a pilot program myself as a student in Rosscarbery for the transition year. So it has been around since that time. And I suppose it is that gap year between the traditional junior cert that we have now and the senior cycle or the traditional Leaving Cert or the level 4 QQI that we're running. And really the programs are very similar in many schools, but can also be very different in many schools. And I suppose the experience we try to give in the Coláiste is a very rounded transition year program, which hits a lot of the developmental goals that we would have for students at that age, and you'll probably see them emerge as we go through the presentation, and I might come back to that again at the very end. But that's what it does. It's that gap year between third year and fifth year, but also students are getting a lot more from TY than just the traditional academic sides, and students and parents quite often don't realise that maybe until they come towards the end of the programme or when they move into fifth year. And again, this year, I can definitely see it again, most definitely this year, where many of the students who came straight through third year are all at sea, behind, and sometimes don't catch up at all when we move on through the fifth year programme. I suppose, why TY? It suits most students. There are certain students who certainly don't enjoy TY or don't get benefit from it. But according to the OECD report that was done a year ago, about 72% of all students who finish third year go on to TY in Irish schools. And look, it's a year that boys in particular tend to mature quite a bit. The boys and girls start to develop new friendships. They start to understand each other a little bit more, start to work in project work together, group work together, and they're starting to develop those soft skills that are absolutely necessary going forward. You know, a lot of problem solving involved in TY, critical thinking is involved in TY. Deadlines are being set for students in a lot of the projects that they would do in subjects, which is setting a standard for what needs to be done in a lot of subjects now in the Leaving Cert and further afield if you move on to third level. And TY students also get the experience of career guidance all through the year group, which I think is very, very important. And Mr. Landers and Miss O'Leary will be working with them directly, again, you know, exploring different career options, different subject options. I think that's a great asset within the TY programme. Many trips, even this year we did do a certain amount of trips, albeit with restrictions. And I think the taster of all subjects, like probably the shining strength in the Coláiste is when you really come to fifth year with the depth of subject choice that you would have, and students may get the opportunity to revisit subjects that they may not necessarily have done throughout the junior cycle programme, but now they get that opportunity again. And they are students, I suppose. Some do prefer to move on. Some students find school, you know, restrictive in some respects, and they just want to get through the 5 years as fast as they possibly can. And do quite well, many of them. Some students feel that TY would give them bad habits. That one can be debated, but and not every student also would we feel is suited to transition year. And that's, you know, a consideration that we would have in our admission guidelines for TY, that we would look at all the applicants. And if we're oversubscribed, we would have interviews. We could have interviews regardless just to question the motivation for a student doing TY. And I'd say Miss Mulcahy might add to this later. Many a student has changed and turned over a new leaf in transition year, and they've discovered a new side to themselves as an individual, and they develop strong relationships with the teachers that they'll be working with in senior cycle. So that's maybe some background in terms of suitability. I suppose the program itself, when I was putting together this PowerPoint presentation, it kind of breaks down into different layers. So every student will continue with Maths, English and Irish in terms of the academic curriculum. All students get this year 1 hour of career guidance per week, IT classes, and we're going to revisit going back to developing the e-portfolios, which probably in this year and last year with COVID, probably we didn't get to complete maybe to the standard that we'd like. Religion class will continue, PE will continue. And then you have your taster option and bands. Like next year, we'll be going back to all the subjects. This year, there's slight restrictions in some subjects, but things are opening up now. And I can imagine that the first half of TY next year, there may be some restrictions, but the second half of the year, I think it'll be returning very much to what would be a normal transition year experience. Then you've got your activities like the JP2 and the community element. TY is very strong in terms of us linking with the community, and as a community college, I think that's a very important value that we hold. Projects and competitions come along at different times of the year, and students are interested by their teachers. Walks, obviously, outdoor activities are very important. I suppose the big one there, we work towards the Kilpatrick trip at the end of the year, and the kids will be getting many a 10-kilometre, 20-kilometre walk in. And in those trips, actually, in those walks, they get to mix and mingle with each other, and that's students forming new friendships that they may not necessarily have had in the junior side of the house. The J Future Leaders is a new program we have this year. Hopefully, we'll get back to a school musical next year. I'm not so sure it'll be in the first half of the year, but it might be in the second half of the year. And we've developed links this year with Music Generation and the Rockwell Music Academy, which I think will prove to be a great relationship for the school going forward. Each department, generally speaking, would organise a trip throughout the course of the year. So history, geography, maths, science, they would all organise a trip for the students. The school environmental team are really good. They do projects around the school. Some of it might involve litter cleaning. Some of it might be involved developing new landscapes for the school. We purchased a polytunnel this year, but we're still, I think, waiting arrival of that. There was a huge demand in them, but that's another area of horticulture that will come in for next year's students. Work experience is always a part of transition year, and we've linked in this year with Health Fitness Ireland to develop a 10-week program for the students that took place in the first part. So that's how the program is layered. It's the mix of the academics, the taster program, and obviously the activities where students get an opportunity to look at new opportunities. And I think that's a big point for parents. TY is an awful lot about opportunities, and really students must grab those opportunities and push themselves forward and maybe come out of their comfort zone as well. And that's all part of the personal growth, which is really, really important in gaining confidence and all the skills that are necessary as you move on through life. No. So there are the subjects. If your son or daughter is doing French, Spanish or German, the junior side, that continues for the full duration of the year. And then in rotations, geography, home economics, accounting, the new PE course at Leaving Cert, business, biology, technology, design and graphics, art, engineering, ag science, music, physics, construction, chemistry, politics and society. And they're all will be done in a taster program. So they're all the subjects then that appear on the subject list for fifth years. So your son or daughter gets the chance to experience all of those and find out a little bit more what's involved in that subject going forward. And then in terms of assessment, our system for assessing students, and last year we didn't get to have awards because we were shut down from March onwards, but the previous year students were graded under gold, silver and bronze. 80 marks plus was the gold award, which, you know, I think it's a great award to achieve that because it means that you have gained 70 marks plus from your subject teachers. Attendance would be gaining 10 marks because it's important to be in school every day during transition year. And 20 marks then come from the TY planning team, which will be your attendance at trips, your contribution to the spirit of the year, projects, competitions, and all of that. Also, your e-portfolio would be coming back as part of the subject teacher's mark as well, where you record everything that you would have done in each subject. So that's how we would grade students at the end. In terms of the e-portfolio, this is what we will be aiming to get back to for students. And this is from a student from 2 years ago, where all their projects and assignments were put into a Teams folder, and all the subjects down along the left-hand column, and then whatever photographs are taken or whatever project work is done, that is compiled into an e-portfolio, which at the end of the year then is a collection of all the work that would have been done by your son or daughter in the particular year group. That e-portfolio was an exceptionally high standard, and it was really enjoyable to go back and discuss it with the student, because quite often us as teachers, we forget all the work that's being done because we're moving on to the next week and the week after. But when you reflect back on what's done, the students get massive opportunities to engage in different activities. So there's just sample work of what that student put together throughout the course of her year. In terms of the walks, on the right, I suppose, is a picture of this year's walk. The kids socially distanced with their masks, and the one on the left is one from the previous year. So again, this year they would have, I think they could have 4 or 5 different walks done in terms of getting outdoors. You can see Miss Way there, Mr. O'Loughlin with the group, and that would be all part of the social development. I suppose the physical health aspect of the courses would be important in that. This year, to keep things local, and we've done it previous years as well, all students in TY got the opportunity to do a 6-week course on kayaking, and it was based obviously below in Care and on the river shore, and they worked towards going over the weir. I think great fun was had at that particular course and programme, and the natural resources that we have close enough to us in Care give you massive opportunities in terms of kayaking, hill walking, all those different activities that you can engage in. But there was great fun in that. Obviously, without having to travel, other activities were brought into the school. I think the segways went down as a big hit, where they had to do different types of manoeuvres and parking in the P Hall. So that was an activity that our TY students did this year as well. Every year, the TY groups will be broken into different teams to help around the school. You can see the litter picking on the left-hand side. The girls in the middle there were helping out with distribution of sweets. I think that might have been for Halloween, but they're invaluable to the school actually, and we really do value their contribution and their participation, and obviously it covers and it supports us as well in maintaining a good environment around the school. So that's an activity that students participate in once a week in their different teams. That's a sample of some more activities that might happen. Last year, the road safety roadshow came to the school, and this week, I think even just recently, one of our teachers linked us in with Boston Scientific to do a series of lessons related to the STEM subjects in the school. So, you know, that's the beauty about the cooperation, the collaboration with the cluster, where teachers spot an opportunity and we would run with it. And obviously that one is going to be good, because it's nice for us to start linking with some of the bigger businesses in Clonmel. A part of TY that I would be very proud of would be definitely our links with the local community. Every year our students would do the JP2 Awards, which will be a lot of community-based initiatives. This year, obviously, that has been restricted, so we've replaced that with an award that's been done within the cluster. But our students did go and make babogues this year in honour of the babies from the mother and babies homes, and they lit candles in the local church in recognition of that. I think that, you know, those initiatives are really, really good and very much appreciated as well by the people of Care and surrounding areas. One probably link that we missed this year was our students linking with the local primary schools for shared reading programs. I really enjoy the feedback from the primary school teachers when they would say after a couple of weeks, 4 to 5 weeks, where our students would go down and sit side by side and read with the students from the younger ages in the primary schools, that their test results would show that their reading had improved dramatically. And some students in TY who we wouldn't have felt ourselves might have been a student who would have been suitable for future careers in teaching or have those particular skill set absolutely blossomed in this particular initiative. So that's the one that we hope that we can revisit with next year, which is our shared reading program between our TY students and our local primary schools. And I suppose when the new primary school comes, which is quite shortly, there'll be a very much more direct link again, because we'll be going to the one building rather than two particular buildings. The Garda Síochána every year would run an old folks home or a retirement for the actively retired people of care. And again, with Miss Wade's support and the three previous initiatives would all be run by Miss Wade, would be very much supported by our students on the night, and a great sense of community again, and our students will be very much part of that. And they are some of the community initiatives. And because we couldn't be involved in an active retirement party this year, our TY students took an opportunity to write to people in the local retirement homes, and many of the students, or many of the people who received letters from our students, actually took time to write back. And I think many of the students were moved by that, and they got to share some of the life experience that others in their locality had. So a strong component is our link with the local communities. And each year our TY students would also be helping out, supporting local charities, collecting money for local charities, and many other initiatives that would come up from time to time, will be very much driven by the support that our TY team would give to it. This year we also worked with Health Fitness Ireland, or they're now called Health and Wellness International. So they did a 10-week program every Wednesday where students got opportunities to look at health, exercise and activity training, confidence and positivity. They also had metabolic screening done, and they would have got a lot of advice from a lot of highly qualified people in terms of minding themselves and their own well-being and their general physical health as well. That program was very well received, and it ran for 10 weeks every Wednesday for the three groups that we have in TY this year. Also, we were running the J Future Leaders program, where students are doing elements of coaching, well-being, journalism, nutrition. I think event management might be in there as well. That's a program developed by the J. It's not totally focused on J sports, but on students being exposed to new skills. In next year, I suppose our aim would really be at the end of this program to start running events with local primary schools where the students could take the skills that they would learn from the program, be it the whole aspect of reporting on matches, nutrition advice to primary school students, or coaching badges in terms of J. It could be sport, it could be basketball. And we would get the opportunity to run those with our feeder primary schools. And again, that's supported by the PDST. So that's a program that I think will grow and develop. Because we couldn't run a school musical this year, which would generally form a central part of the TY program in the first term of the year, we linked in with the Rockwell Music Academy, which have moved into care. And we're also in the process of developing stronger links with Music Generation, which Tipperary has just become part of. And they have done many activities with the Rockwell Music Academy on Wednesdays over the last couple of weeks. They've done percussion and dance routines, drama sketches. I think at the moment they're online learning about songwriting, different types of dance genres, how to play the musical scale with 8 empty glass bottles at home. And again, that's an opportunity. Now, not every student is coming on every single Wednesday, but that opportunity has been provided. And I suppose music is a great way of people coming together and having a bit of laughter and a bit of fun. So please God, we'll return to our traditional musical next year, with TYs being the cornerstone of it. But we will be working on developing Music Generation for all students, not just TY students, but across all year groups. And we're looking forward to working more with the Rockwell Music Academy in Care as well, since they've got their new fine premises in Care. And this is the one, excuse me, that they've just done recently, where the TY students design T-shirts, and as part of their study for the musical theatre ensemble Irish board exams with the Rockwell Music Academy. So while we haven't been able to go to the stage and give students that chance to participate in a full school musical, we are looking at other areas in which we can grow music even further within the Coláiste. Competitions and projects. There's two TY students, or two third-year students who came through to TY this year, who would have participated in regional enterprise winners in their particular field. Young scientists would occur not every single year, but if students showed interest in it, that would be facilitated. Science Fest art competitions. We had a group of students last year who participated in the generation apprenticeships and actually won an award for that as well. So different competitions do happen within the TY program. Another project TY students was they got an opportunity to research about the Bloody Sunday event in 1920 and Michael Hogan, and we were lucky enough that Michael Foley, who wrote that book, The Bloodied Field, and also produced the podcast on it, visited the school to present signed copies of his book to the winning students. So that was a history project that the students would have participated in. And that was a very interesting event and very, very nice to listen to Michael Foley speak about his experiences of writing the book. There's another one where Miss Hassett would have entered her science students in a project or a competition also, I think. It was around the female winners of Nobel Prize competitions. So that's just a flavour of some of the projects and competitions from this year. And every year there could be new ones added depending on what would be available at the time. We didn't participate in Junkatur this year, but I've no doubt that our teachers are itching to get back involved next year with it, and that tends to be a central part for a lot of the girls who take on TY, and it's open to boys as well. But the last couple of years, it tends to be more the female members have taken part in it. But it's a great competition. The students certainly learn a lot about team skills. They certainly learn a lot about conflict management, and they do enjoy their trip to the regional finals every year in Limerick. And a lot of work and hours go into preparing the dresses, which the students tend to get a great sense of satisfaction and empowerment from. And the amount of skills that are being learned unknowns to people in that particular project, it's only when you stand back and look at it, they become very evident. There are many other lists of work that's been done by the transition years in terms of raising money in different coaching badges, work experience, obviously kayaking on the rivers. You can look at them in your own time. The Old Folks Party. There are some students preparing reads this year it was probably for the enterprise competitions. Revision quizzes for first years. Going to the ploughing championships. That's the one we forgot about. The first part of the year would always be the TYs heading off to the ploughing championships. The annual retreats would be another one. Maths department would take the students to Castlecombe each year. Patrick, we've mentioned. Our IT lead teachers would be very good in organising events with Microsoft. I think they were involved in Dreamspace over the last couple of weeks as well, the present group. Seminar in Dublin. The 3-day or the 2-night overnight trip to Delphi would be at the start of the year. I think this year we had planned for an event at the end of the year, but again, I suppose COVID guidelines will restrict some of that. But I expect that next year's TYs will get the chance to experience a trip to an adventure centre at the end of the year, because I would think we'll be very much back to normal. Art, graffiti workshops have taken place. First aid courses, manual handling courses. Visits to films. The Military Museum tends to be a very good trip with the History Department up to County Meath. So they're just a synopsis of some of the trips that have taken place. And I suppose in terms of the key skills, the OECD are very strong on the education systems in different countries. I suppose the one disadvantage that I see that the Leaving Cert has, and many of my colleagues would share the same, the Leaving Cert tends to be a screening process first and foremost for third level education systems, but that's not necessarily the key skills that our students are going to need. And without a doubt, in TY, students are pushed in the area of critical thinking, creative thinking, self-regulation. the social and emotional skills, showing empathy for others, managing themselves in terms of their self-efficacy, responsibility for themselves, responsibility for teamwork, collaboration, all of those skills, learning new communication technology, which the students across all year groups have been brilliant this year and last year in terms of upskilling with all what we're doing here now in terms of Microsoft Teams as the platform at the moment. But there are the key skills that the OECD are saying that workforces or employers are going to be looking for in 10 years' time. And transition year, without a doubt, opens students or exposes students to all of those particular skill sets. And I think that's probably the key reason why a lot of students get great benefit from transition year. And as I said before, they probably don't realize it when they're going through it, but at the end, they certainly will see the benefits of having gone through a transition year program. In terms of TY for next year, of the initial form that was sent out, about 85 students have shown an expression of interest in TY. We will issue another form to parents looking for your final declaration as to whether you're looking to move on to TY 5th year or the QQI program. If it's 5th year, then I'll add your name to the subject options list, and you can start entering your son or daughter's subject preferences in that. TY students, there's no subject options to be made. It's a standard timetable for everybody. Interviews may take place. We certainly could call certain students for interview and just ask questions as to why they want to do transition year and what they hope to get from transition year. Then timetabling begins for next year, and I suppose the cost this year it was €300 per student. If it was overnight, so maybe extra, and certainly over the last 4 or 5 years, we never have a penny left in the TY budget, because when you add in the cost of bringing people in and companies in, €1,000 doesn't go too far, and when you're taking buses out, even short journeys, money doesn't go too far on those particular trips either. So that's a general overview of transition year. I'll open up for Q&A. People can type questions into the Q&A sections if they want. If not, you can come back to myself directly in school, or you can send me a chat through your son or daughter's chat function on Teams as well. Does Miss Mulcahy want to come in and add anything to it, or Miss Wade or Mr. Delhunty, or if I've missed anything?
I just come in for a minute.
Yeah.
Sorry, is there an echo there?
I'll turn off my mic.
Thanks very much, Mr. Creedon. I suppose I just want to say that that a lot of the benefits from TY you don't actually see immediately. We hear all the time that in third level education there's a huge dropout after first year, and that kind of happens a lot when people are not able to take on that self-directed learning which you need to do once you reach third level, or any kind of a course you do after school. And most teachers tell me that when they go into a 5th year class, they can actually pick out the ones that have done transition year, because they're able to work on their own. They have actually a good work ethic. They have an idea of organizing themselves, and they find project work easier because they've been doing it during all transition year. Also, I suppose the big thing really is what you can develop within yourself, and skills and qualities that you never thought you had really will come to the fore, provided you put in the effort into it. And I'm very happy, and I thank Ms. Wade, and thank all the teachers do a huge amount of work with students, but particularly when it comes to our involvement in the community. And that's something that's extremely important. And I've had a couple of chats with former TY students, and they always tell me that when they put down the JP2 awards on their CV, when they go for an interview, they find it's the one thing people ask them about, and employers are fiercely interested in it, because nowadays they're just fiercely interested in the idea that you might do something for nothing, or no actual personal gain out of it, that you want to give to your community. And that's something, fostering a place, your place and your duty to your community is something that you can take into your life forever, shall we say. And the last thing I'll touch on there is it's often interesting to ask students coming into transition year, what are your subject choices if you hadn't done transition year? And more often than not, they will have changed by the end of transition year, because they've had they've a chance to test out these subjects and feel what are they good at and what they would actually like. because you only have 4 subjects that you're really going to be picking for your options. So it's important for your Leaving Cert that you pick the ones that you're comfortable with and you feel you want to get good results with. Okay, thanks, Mr. Creedon, and thanks to everybody.
Thanks, Ms. Mackay. Does Ms. Delhunty or Ms. Tarrant, or I think Mr. Landers is here, or Ms. Wade, do you want to add anything to it?
No, that's perfect.
No.
I'll come in there, Mr. Creedon, and
Yeah.
Ms. Mackay, and everybody say good evening and hope everybody is well and keeping well. I think there have been a couple of questions that have just been asked in the chat in relation to when and how they go about applying for it. But just from the careers guidance point of view, transition year is an amazing year in terms of tasting of subjects to help make choices for the following year, because it may be subjects that you may not have experienced in junior cycle, but hugely and more importantly, and I suppose before COVID particularly, is the opportunity to try to do some work experience or to go and get a work placement in a type of an area, or an area that you might be interested in going into, or maybe that you think is a job that you always thought you wanted to do, and find out whether it really is or isn't. Some of the thoughts that are there particularly would be in relation to things like veterinary science and veterinary nursing and stuff like that, because in order to do that particular course in college now after school, you have to have a minimum of, I think it's 20 or 25 hours of experience of working both with a vet, but also working with different types of animals. So not just farm animals, but other types of animals as well, before you can even apply for the course. So there are a number of opportunities, or a number of parts that come into TY that will link in further on. And I can reiterate very specifically, I suppose, in relation to all of the experiences that the TYs get through Ms. Wade and through the community and through the other members of staff. But there is a maturity. There is definitely a maturity that is noticeable for students who go on and to do TY and continue on to 5th year then. That's me. Thank you.
Thanks, Sean. I suppose lastly, as a parent of 3 students who've gone through transition year, it's nice to be a parent not having to be fighting with your son or daughter over exams. But I suppose you probably do have the responsibility as a parent to try and encourage them to experience everything, and to try and take the chance to, maybe do something that you may not necessarily have taught yourself that you would have done at the start. I think that's the real beauty of transition year. That these opportunities present themselves, and every year we see students grow in transition year, and quite often the transition year groups then really gel well, and when that energy of the youth comes together, it kind of gives everybody a lift, and I think we go with that as well in terms of providing the best experience we can for our 4th years. So unless there's any other questions, I'll stop the recording, and if people want to type questions in or ask them, they can do so. If not, we can bring the meeting to a conclusion. And again, I think with over 80 people here at one stage. So thank you very much for taking the time to come online, not only tonight but previous nights as well.